Good morning, UUSS. Whether you are here with us or on Zoom, we welcome you this morning. Please rise in body or spirit to proclaim that morning has come.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Celia Buckley. This is kind of loud. And I am, Okay. I am your worship associate today. I'm back after a 3-month road trip. I've missed you all, and I was here last Sunday. So now they put me to work. I am serving today with the Reverend Lucy Bunch and our ministerial intern, Rosemary Dodd. And the sermon today is called World Religion in the 21st Century, What Matters Most. Whether you're here in person or home on Zoom, we are so glad you're here. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we welcome you. The mission of this congregation says we come together to deepen our lives and be a force for healing in the world. Toward this end, we acknowledge that UUSS exists on the occupied ancestral territory of the Nisenan, Southern Maidu, and Miwok peoples. We wish to pay our respects to their ancestors, elders, and relatives, and to affirm their sovereign right as First Peoples. If you're on Zoom, make sure to click on the link in the chat to view the order of service, and if you're here on person, there's an order of service available on the back table. There are so many ways to connect to this vibrant community each week. We have tables in the welcome hall where you can get connected and fill out a newcomer's form to receive our weekly message. You may also do that online. And each week, the blue sheet and our newsletter serve as a guide to our various programs. Today on Zoom, please stay after to chat in breakout rooms to get to know one another. And here in person, we will have coffee, tea, and opportunities to meet and greet one another in the welcome hall and out on the patio. I hope you have marked your calendar for our 2023 auction and dinner, Magic of Community, which will be held on Saturday, November 4th from 5 to 8 p.m. And we are looking for donations of experiences, adventures, and talents for our auction, as well as themed baskets for our raffle. Please visit the auction table during coffee hour or visit our auction site UUSS/auction to donate an item and register for bidding. Tickets will go on sale soon. Finally, please take a moment now to join me in making sure my cell phone is off. And if you think it's off, please look at it. It might not be off, so that we can all be present for the service. Come, let us enter into this place of sanctuary and worship together.
Thank you, Kenji and Irina. Good morning. We have a medieval princess with us this morning to light our chalice, otherwise known in real life as Rebecca O'Neill. Come on up, beautiful princess. Here she comes. I'll give you a chance to appreciate her beautiful outfit. Our chalice lighting this morning comes from Norman Naylor. Do not leave your cares at the door. Do not leave there your pain, your sorrow, or your joys. Bring them with you into this place of acceptance and forgiveness. Place them on the common altar of life and offer them to the possibility of your worship. Come then and offer yourself to potential transformation by the creative process that flows through you and all life. Let this chalice light shine with the fullness of life.
This time I'd like to invite all involved with RE, kids and adults, like to gradually make your way out towards the welcome hall as you continue your service over yonder, and we help in singing your song. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with the foot. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with the foot. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. Look up ahead. The path is there. The path is there. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other. One foot, lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other. One foot in front of the other. One foot, and lead with love.
It's in our gathered community that the joys, sorrows, and bittersweets of our lives can be held, not left at the door, but welcomed in. Sorrows shared are a little bit less heavy, and joys given voice take flight. This week, Jennifer and Randy Webb shared that they're celebrating their 30th wedding anniversary. They say, "We are so grateful for our health, family, and friends, and especially this supportive and loving community." Congratulations. Renee Scott Feminella shares with us that she had a stroke this week. She was quickly attended to by emergency responders so that there was no damage to her brain. After a brief hospital stay, she is home resting and feeling gratitude for all those who took care of her. We are sad to announce the death of Connie Buckley, a member of our community for several years. Connie had a positive attitude despite health challenges and was always willing to lend a hand. We send our love to her sister, Celia Buckley, sister-in-law Maren Randall, and to her brother Richard and his family. May she rest in peace, and may her memory be a blessing. We have heard from our member Taylor Lewis that he is dealing with a difficult medical issue. He will be starting treatment next week. If you know Taylor, please reach out and give him love and support. He is so grateful for the loving care of this community. For those joys and sorrows shared, and for those which remain in our hearts, I offer a time of meditation on this moment of the year, written by Lori Gorgas Halaban. Pause. Balanced in the center, between the longest and the shortest days, a gold leaf is held, suspended by the delicate green needles on an evergreen tree. Equinox. The wheel of the year turns and turns again. The air cools, days shorten, the sun seems to weaken, barely clearing the horizon after rising before beginning its descent. This is our opportunity now to pause, balanced, breathing in, breathing out, knowing this present moment. This present moment is all we're guaranteed. Like the sun moving toward its shortest day, Each moment arises and is gone before we know it. This is the time to pause and consider as we enter the season of contemplation, of increased darkness, of lying fallow, of dormancy. This is the season of letting go, of lightening burdens, of preparing for a long period of being still, going deep. Pause and consider. Binaries, dark and light, hot and cold, chaos and order. Neither extreme is inherently good or bad. It's all a matter of balance, of honoring the spectrum for which binaries mark the endpoints. Today, yesterday, we mark the midpoint between summer and winter solstice, a time to seek balance and be free. In the silence, consider what balance you are seeking. Blessed be. Amen.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease.
I had prepared this before what happened yesterday, and I told Lucy I still wanted to present it. If I can find page 1. My paid nursing career ended in 2013, but I am still influenced by my profession. As an advanced practice registered nurse in pediatric cardiology, I cared for parents of children born with congenital heart defects. Parents were always shocked at hearing their children were born with malformed hearts. It is more common than you may know. Roughly 1% of babies are born with congenital heart defects, which means out of 1,000 babies born, 10 will have heart abnormalities. And a third of those babies will need life-saving intervention within days to months after birth. Unfortunately, not all survive. My role over a 30-year career was to support and educate the families of children about their children's hearts and planned interventions, surgeries, and treatment plans. Thus, I saw the same parents and families repeatedly for days, weeks, months, years, and even decades, and I built relationships with them. I endeavored to answer their why me questions with facts and science, and I tried to help them shift from the always unanswerable question of why to a more tangible question of what can I do about this? Unitarian Universalism certainly helped me to accept and embrace parents with diverse religious beliefs. I felt privileged to get close to families from cultures similar and different from my own. I was able to understand we walk different spiritual paths, but my interest in theirs influenced our relationship. I worked with Black and brown and Asian families from every walk of life. I got to know families who were Buddhist, Muslim, Hindi, Mormon, Roman Catholic, and more. My interest and acceptance of their beliefs sometimes led families to proselytize. For instance, one family presented me with tracts and books on Jehovah's Witness at every single visit. I have a lasting memory that resonates deeply with me. Fairly early on in my career, I met the parents of Christina. Christina was born missing half of her heart and would need extraordinary surgeries. The mother revealed to me she had had a prior baby die from a different heart defect 15 years before the birth of this child. The parents were devout, evangelical Episcopalians. I didn't know such a thing existed. Anyway, and Mom said, God would never do this to me twice. Christina survived her first newborn surgery, and I continued to get to know this family over the next 3 years before her next surgery. Going into surgery, Mom again said to me, God would never do this to me again. After surgery, the parents and friends gathered and asked me if I would pray with them. I mumbled something non-committal and quietly slipped away without joining them. Well, surgery did not go well. And after a rocky 10 days in the pediatric ICU, Christina died. I was invited to Christina's funeral and went. I found this funeral stilted and boring without any personalization of Christina or her parents. But the family gushed with how wonderful the service had been. And although grief-struck, the mother remained devout and never lashed out in anger at God or the cardiac team. I marveled at how such families could continue to embrace their faith in their God. I was moved by that their love of their faith gave them the strength to live through the unthinkable loss of losing 2 children to congenital heart disease. Unitarian Universalism has taught me there is no right way. Every path provides comfort to those who embrace it. I learned that family prayer in the hospital serves those who believe in it. By the end of my career, I joined prayer circles when invited, bowing my head and perhaps holding hands. I learned it didn't matter I didn't share their beliefs, and I no longer felt I was being dishonest or inauthentic. I am so grateful for the deep and meaningful relationships I formed with families throughout my career and the deepening of my own spiritual understanding.
Thich Nhat Hanh was a Vietnamese monk, scholar, and activist, and one of the most beloved Buddhist teachers in the world. He died in January of 2022. This reading is from his book, Living Buddha, Living Christ. Buddhism is made of non-Buddhist elements, including Christian ones, and Christianity is made of non-Christian elements, including Buddhist ones. We have different roots, traditions, and ways of seeing, but we have the common qualities of love, understanding, and acceptance. For our dialogue to be open, we need to open our hearts, set aside our prejudices, listen deeply, and represent truthfully what we know and understand. To do this, we need a certain amount of faith. In Buddhism, faith means confidence in ours and others' abilities to wake up to their deepest capacity of love and understanding. In Christianity, faith means trust in God, the one who represents love, understanding, dignity, and truth. While we are still looking deeply and touching the source of our true wisdom, we touch the living Buddha and the living Christ in ourselves and in each person we meet. If we can enter the 21st century with this spirit of mutual understanding and acceptance, our children and their children will surely benefit.
This reading is from a book by Stephen Prothero titled, God is Not One: The 8 Rival Religions That Run the World, and Why Their Differences Matter. Prothero is a professor of religion at Boston University. Along with other wise leaders such as the Dalai Lama and Gandhi, the Hindu teacher Swami Sivananda writes, "The fundamentals and essentials of all religions are the same. There is difference only in the non-essentials." This is a lovely sentiment, but it is dangerous, disrespectful, and untrue. For more than a generation, we have followed scholars and sages down the rabbit hole into a fantasy world in which all gods are one. This wishful thinking is motivated in part by an understandable rejection of the exclusivist missionary view that only you and your kind will make it to heaven or paradise. For most of world history, human beings have seen religious rivals as inferior to themselves, practitioners of empty rituals, perpetrators of bogus miracles, purveyors of fanciful myths. The Age of Enlightenment in the 18th century popularized the ideal of religious tolerance, and we are doubtless better for it. But the idea of religious unity is wishful thinking nonetheless, and it has not made the world a safer place. It is time we climbed out of the rabbit hole and back to reality. The world's religious rivals do converge when it comes to ethics, but they diverge sharply on doctrine, ritual, mythology, experience, and law. These differences may not matter to mystics or philosophers of religion, but they matter to ordinary religious people. Muslims do not think that the pilgrimage to Mecca that they call the Hajj is inessential. In fact, they include it among the 5 pillars of Islam. Catholics do not think that baptism is inessential. In fact, they include it among their 7 sacraments. But religious differences do not just matter to religious practitioners. They have real effects in the real world. People refuse to marry this Muslim or that Hindu because of them. And in some cases, religious differences move adherents to fight and to kill. One purpose of the all religions are one mantra is to stop this fighting and this killing. And it is comforting to pretend that the great religions make up one big, happy family. But this sentiment, however well-intentioned, is neither accurate nor ethically responsible. God is not one. Faith in the unity of religions is just that. Faith.
Generosity is a spiritual practice. Our congregation has the practice of giving away half of every Sunday's offering to an organization that is working to make a difference in the world. In September, our community partner is the Mustard Seed School. This school is a private school for homeless children from the ages of 3 to 15 and is part of Sacramento Loaves and Fishes. The school provides a nurturing, structured, and positive learning experience during a time of transition and uncertainty. The children and their families receive happy memories, survival resources of food and clothing, health care, and counseling for children and their families. Mustard Seed assists them in reentering the public school system. Since it was founded in 1989, it has done this for more than 6,000 children. Our member, Marla Jensen, served as the part-time school counselor for 8 years and has remained a volunteer there. Marla said that the most important work of Mustard Seed is respite, safety, and the space for kids to just be kids. Now, next Sunday, October 1st, is the deadline to nominate an organization for our 2024 community partners. We elect 12 partners for you to donate, and we will elect them later in October. You can find all the information you need by a link on the front page of our website at UUSS, and don't let your favorite organization miss this opportunity. Thank you for your generosity to UUSS and to our community partner of this month. This morning's offering will now be given and received. While the ushers bring forward the baskets, please join me together in the unison response. May generosity bless our world, and gratitude nourish our spirits.
The perennial philosophy is a concept that all religious traditions share one single metaphysical truth. That truth is the ground of being, or the divine spirit, or God, from which all religious truths spring. You hear the word metaphysical a lot. I want to be very clear that it means something that is beyond human, beyond the physical, beyond what we can sense and know with our minds, something that is greater than everything. Houston Smith was a 20th century scholar who wrote a very popular book called World Religions. It used to be The Religions of Man, and in a later edition it became World Religions. And he was a proponent of this idea. He said differences in culture, history, geography, and collective temperament all make for diverse starting points. But beyond these differences, the same goal beckons. Similarly, Mohandas Gandhi said, belief in one God is the cornerstone of all religions. So it is towards this one God that all religious peoples are climbing. Some of our greatest religions from the East have slightly modified versions of this idea. They state that rather than seeking the same God, it is the ethical goals of religion that are similar. As we heard in the reading from Thich Nhat Hanh, we have different roots, traditions, and ways of seeing, but we have the common qualities of love, understanding, and acceptance. Similarly, the Dalai Lama affirms that the essential message of all religions is very much the same. In his view, however, what the world religions share is not so much the common understanding of God, but the sweet harmony of peace, love, and understanding. But as you heard, the religious scholar Stephen Prothero is having none of this. Prothero said the idea that all religions are the same at their core is a lovely statement, but it is dangerous, disrespectful, and untrue. For more than a generation, we have followed scholars and sages down the rabbit hole into the fantasy world where all gods are one. So how do we parse these differing perspectives? In our globally connected world, religious strife is very real. And a dream of harmony and interconnection is a wonderful aspiration, but may not be sufficient to navigate the challenges of religious difference. So let's start our exploration this morning by taking a giant step backwards to try to wrap our arms around some of the similarities and differences of the world religions. And our starting point is way back. Humans first developed religious ideas to make sense of life, of suffering, and of death. Myths, religious practices, moral practices helped understand these big questions, helped to build community and minimize strife. Religion was absolutely central to pre-modern culture. Early humans formed clans that had their own practices, generally based on the cycles of the earth and our connection to nature. Everyone understood these practices and generally adhered to them. But urbanization, city-states changed all of that. For the first time, people from different clans came together, and the clan structure, The religious structure that held things together was undone. This happened about 3,000 years before the Common Era, and it is a time of one of the greatest transformations in human history. Karen Armstrong has a great book about this period that I highly recommend. Life in the city-state invoked a crisis of meaning as the worlds that they knew gave way to an emphasis on the individual and a separation from nature. The challenging conditions of life forced early humans to deal with questions about why there is suffering and injustice, why there is evil and death. And it was at this time in our history that the major world religions found their roots in the three centers of ancient civilizations: India, China, and the Middle East. And out of these roots, the world religions we know today came to fullness. So the next great shift in human development came with the dawn of the modern era, when science began to dominate and replace religion as the source of knowledge. Religion was no longer central to political, social, and economic organizations, and people started to see religion as a matter of personal faith, personal belief, rather than the structures that held everything together. This, of course, culminated with those outrageous people in the United States of America who claimed in their Constitution the separation of church and state. Finally, with globalization, colonialism, and mass migration, we moved into this postmodern period of religion and human culture, a pluralistic world where no one religion dominates. In this era, more and more people choose to disavow religious practice, and belief in the unquestioned power of science is diminished as we all question what is true and what is real. Voices from the margins have contributed to this shift, and the dominant culture is learning that things perhaps never really were the way that we thought they were. This is the world we live in now, this post-modern era, where there are more ways than ever to be religious or not. And though there is still much less religious warfare than in pre-modern times, we still have to walk a long path of mutual respect and understanding before we achieve that vision of all religions living together harmoniously. Okay, so hold that thought. I'm going to change direction here and shift from this linear map of history to a frame about how our major religions differ on their foundational ideas. The three families of religion that emerged from India, the Middle East, and China all perceived a different source of truth and a different problem that religion needed to solve. Remember, these religions were founded at this time of great upheaval when people moved out of the clan structure and into city-states. For the East Asian religions, the source of truth was the interconnection of all, the Tao, and disharmony was the problem. Religious practices helped humans get back into connection with nature for the Taoists, and practices that helped people get back into society's connection for the Confucianists. In South India, Hindu practices evolved from the idea of the divine spirit of all, called the Brahman, and the resonance of which is the Om, the symbol that we have in the front of our church. The religious problem was suffering, and the solution was a variety of forms of yoga, not just the yoga we practice in studios all over the US, but a deeper yoga that had 4 individual paths that would help the soul be freed from the cycles of rebirth and suffering. And finally, in the Middle East, monotheism emerged with a single God as the source of meaning and truth. The religious problem that emerged in the Middle East was sin, and sin and injustice. And the solution was following the commandments and building towards the kingdom of God. And so what is the end game for these religions? Well, the monotheistic religions share a view that we are moving towards an end time where all of the righteous will be united with God. Jewish, Christian, and Muslims believe in this vision of the kingdom of God. For Eastern religions, their goal is nirvana, peace and harmony, which exists right now. And only through our efforts can we find our way there. These religious roots developed many branches. Hinduism gave way to Buddhism and Sikhism. Islam and Christianity emerged from Judaism. As we know in the world today, all these religions have many branches, many, many, many forms of Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, as the ideas spread across the world and took root in different places and different cultures. And throughout history, there has been tremendous religious strife between these groups. Mix and match them as you choose. Muslims against Hindus, Christians against Muslims, Christians against Jews, every combo you can think of have fought each other throughout history. Or in many cases, the dominant culture would be oppressing others, such as the Christian treatment of Jews in Europe. Some of the deepest strife between religions come from those that are the most closely related, or especially when one religion thinks that it's the improved version of the other. Think of the Shiites and the Sunnis in Islam, both arising from the same root but following different prophets. Or the Catholics and the Protestants in the Middle Ages. Christians and Muslims, Christians and Jews, all arising from the Aramaic faith, and all seeing themselves as the one true religion that God intended. Religious strife feeds directly from religious fervor. The idea of exceptionalism means that you think that yours is the one true faith. So this idea can lead not only to thinking that you're correct, perhaps you're superior, perhaps your religion is ordained by God, but it can also lead you to thinking that other religions are wrong or even evil. Okay, how you doing with me so far? It's a lot, and there's more. So the world has turned and we enter this postmodern era, our era. And the world's religions are breaking into factions that represent the various needs of the adherents to cope with what is happening in our complex world. And these changes are happening in similar ways across religions. The fundamentalists, who's heard of the fundamentalists, reject important aspects of modern culture and want to go back to what they perceived as the purity of religion and social order. And of course, where that going back is depends on the religion and what was considered the golden era for that particular religion. This is not just a Christian trend. There are fundamentalists in all major religions, and right now in India, there is a radical form of fundamentalist Hinduism that is trying to take back their country. Other religious communities are choosing to stay firmly as modernists, seeking to accommodate their religious traditions to the social and political realities of modern life, like those that choose to ordain women or LGBTQ clergy, but not really ready to take their ideas out into the big postmodern world. And finally, there are the postmodern religionists, fully swimming in the soup of our era, striving to orient their practices to our global and shifting realities. And the trauma and the uncertainty of the pandemic reinforced all of these divisions. Okay, so now we come to the UUs. Where do we fit with all of this? Right now, yeah, one true religion, right. I'm going to get to that, Marion Randall. I'm going to get to that. Right now, all three of these attitudes are present in our denomination. We have a fundamentalist group that wants to take us back to the good old days, and I'm going to talk about them a little bit next Sunday. We have people who are very comfortable with how we are now. They love our current religious practices and don't want them to change too much. And then there are those who feel the imperative for change, the imperative to respond to the turmoil of our times and respond to the call of justice with full-hearted and full-throated engagement. You know, when I think about it, as UUs, we're a little microcosm of the current challenges faced by all the world's religion. And right now, there is a bit of strife among UUs. If there are challenges within Unitarian Universalists, with our differing theologies, our differing world views, differing ideas to respond to change, how can people of different religions get along? So this is where I want to introduce the idea of pluralism, which is strictly defined as coexistence in a variety of perspectives and ideas. But that coexistence is really the heart of the matter. There's a project at the Harvard Divinity School that's taken pluralism to a new level. They say pluralism is not diversity alone, but the energetic engagement with diversity. Pluralism is not just tolerance, but the active seeking of understanding across lines of difference. Pluralism requires dialogue and engagement with the other. In our current configuration, I would say that Unitarian Universalism is a laboratory for pluralism. We can practice these ideas right here as we come together, for we have a tremendous variety of beliefs and religious practices among us. For example, in our UU Journey class that we offer for new members, we do this exercise where people line up by their ideas about God. So over in that corner is full on, God is there, God is everything, I have a relationship with God. And over here is, Every time we do this exercise, people are amazed at how they're spread out across the continuum. And they engage with each other about what does it mean to you to be at that point on the line? How do you feel living in that particular position? Every Sunday, when we use religious language in our prayer, when I say the words Holy Spirit, there are people whose hearts open, they're spiritually fed, and there's a person sitting next to them going, "Oh God, is it over yet?" As UUs, we are also in relationship with so many of the world's religions through our personal study and practice. There are UU Buddhists, Christians, Jews, Taoists, pagans, Hindus, Muslims, you name it. We practice pluralism by keeping our minds open and challenging our assumptions and prejudices. And we do this really well, with perhaps the exception of Christianity. Because many of us have been wounded by our experience with Christianity, we tend not to bring an open-hearted spirit to appreciating what this faith has to offer. And we tend a little bit to exceptionalism, particularly Marilyn Rando sitting there in the second row. We think our religion is better than other religions. Of course we do. We're here. We're sitting here. Next year, our youth will be doing the Neighboring Faiths curriculum next church year, where they go and visit different churches and talk about their experience. And I hear from that sabbatical guy, Reverend Roger, that adults are going to be invited to go along. So we're hoping that this will be a tremendous opportunity as a congregation to engage deeply with pluralism. Unitarian Universalism is a small denomination, really, really, really small. Small in size, but mighty in vision. We have a chance to model this idea of pluralism in our lives and our interactions, and I am very proud that pluralism is one of the values that is in the draft for the ideas to replace our principles. The proposed language reads, pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. So I don't know, did I answer that question about what religions have in common versus what they don't have in common? Do we have a sense of whether there is a path to peace in the world? In answer to that question about what the religions have in common, I think I'm going to go with Thich Nhat Hanh and the Dalai Lama. I think that all the various religions in the world, what they share is that they are infused with love. Love in all its forms and in all its power. Love that can heal, unite, and enrich us. Love that can build connections among the various religious ideas. If we believe it, if we let it, if we live it, so may it be.
Rise with us, singing "The Tide is Rising." The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The task is mighty, the task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The land is holy, the land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The storm is raging, the storm is raging, and so are we. The storm is raging, so are we. The storm is raging, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The sun is shining, the sun is shining, and so are we. The sun is shining, and so are we. The sun is shining, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The world is ready, the world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be.
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, please join me in speaking our shared intention. We extinguish this flame, but we carry the light, love, and commitment of this gathering into the days to come.
Let's reach out. Reach out to each other, reach out to the larger community, reach out to someone we don't know who might believe the world is very different from the way we think it is. Reach out with love and curiosity, engagement. Don't lose faith in the beautiful idea that humans can all learn to live together in peace. Do not lose faith in that idea, but let your faith inspire you to engage with love and connection and commitment. Let your faith move you to step into our complex, overwhelming, amazing, fabulous world, build connections, and make a difference that will lead us towards the world that we all dream about. Blessed be.